Oh no! This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
There's insanity in the control room.
Hey everybody, around the nation, Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you today. We're here. I'm here today. It's more than I could say for yesterday. I'm back. Don't worry, we got stories for y'all. Should be a fun show. Should be very, very interesting. In fact, we've got, of course, we got a spending package, folks. We are going to talk about the Democrats trying to do things and why they probably won't. I might speculate a little bit into that, but I'll give you the details first. We got, of course, Anger MAGA Chuds, as always. We got Ron DeSantis selling merch, pro-COVID merch. I love that. We got Tucker Carlson's, what is it, first grade teacher? Look, I don't know. That's a bizarre story. We're going to get to that. And then, of course, we have a Capitol riot that has been released for being too dumb. You're going to love that story, too. Oh, boy. So there's all that. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. Again, apologize for not being here yesterday. I was not feeling well. I'm still not feeling great today. I'm dragging a little bit. I got the jab energy. You know how it is.
Please clap.
I don't know if anybody's getting like a weird delay or whatever in my soundboard, but it's one of those things. So technology already is hating me today, and so all right, we'll do it. We'll get through this. We'll get through the show. We'll get through it together. That's corny as hell, but all right. Anyway, we'll do that. I guess we'll start out with the first story, and that is I sound fine. No. The weird thing is that the soundboard is like cutting out like the first couple seconds, at least in my earpiece. So it's not working right for me anyway. But you know what? If it works for you, there you go.
How you like that, boy?
All right. Anyway, let's do it. Let's go to some important policy stuff. It appears the Democrats are actually planning to move forward on some of President Biden's policy priorities. Oh, well, policy. And of course, they're planning to do it without Republican help. So now top U.S. Senate Democrats agreed late on Tuesday on a $3.5 trillion package to implement some of President Joe Biden's plans to fund some climate initiatives, health insurance, human infrastructure programs, child care, social welfare, and housing. So, and this is from, of course, the Washington Post. The proposal would direct federal funds to a sweeping array of projects over the coming decade that Biden has outlined as his top priorities. So understand that, you know, this is what it is. It's a spending bill, and it will do some positive things. We don't exactly have the details on how much spending goes to where and on exactly what, but we do have some ideas. For one, the plan does call to expand Medicare. No, it doesn't necessarily expand it to everybody, of course, and we're not even sure if we're going to lower the Medicare eligibility age. So, you know, not great, but they did talk about the plan to expand Medicare to include dental, vision, and hearing care, which actually is incredibly positive. So that's great. I like to see it. It is progress. And of course, as usual, when it comes to the Democrats, good, not quite good enough. Not really like as much progress as I'd like to see, but again, give them credit for that. All right. Anyway, so that said, all 11 Democrats in the Senate Budget Committee had emerged from the meeting, including Bernie Sanders, who's the chairman of the Budget Committee, with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to announce that they had decided on a number, which is about half of what Bernie Sanders had been pushing for. Originally, Bernie Sanders was pushing for a $6 trillion package. This is about 3.5. Here's what Senator Mark Warner said, quote, "Tonight, the Senate Budget Committee reached an agreement on a fully paid-for $3.5 trillion top-line budget, which includes funding for climate education, Medicare expansion, family programs, and more." Schumer added to reporters, "Every major program that President Biden has asked for is funded in a robust way." So understand the focus on funding is a result of course, Republicans and centrist, moderate corporate Democrats who, like Joe Manchin, for example, who insists that everything is paid for. So, you know, look, budget austerity is, of course, on their mind. Again, there's not a lot of detail on the package, but again, the dental, vision, and hearing thing, that is a welcome change. There's unspecified boosts to federal safety net programs. There's some, I would say, not quite as significant, but again, we'll have to see the numbers on that. Boost to address climate change, but not a lot of details on, you know, how the spending is going to be allocated. And there's a reason for that. So far, none of this is a done deal. They still have to go and talk to Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin has already said, I don't agree. Oh, all right. Well, basically he says, I'm going to need time to go and look at it, or what we know is he's going to need time to go and ask his donors, of course. Mark Warner, again, one of the centrist Democrats, said the budget measure is fully financed. However, Democrats have previously said that they plan to pay for much of their package using tax increases on the wealthy, on corporations as well. But the plan will not raise taxes on people making less than $400,000 a year, nor small businesses. So, again, here's the thing. The corporate Democrats, they're basically, I think that there's a good chance that they could derail this by demanding it be paid for, but not supporting tax increases on corporations. We know this. That would, of course, mean that the only other way to fund it would be to cut government programs and services, or find some other weird, tricky ways to try to finance the bill, as it has to go through reconciliation. And since they are going to use reconciliation to get past what is expected to be, of course, Republican filibuster, they need every single vote. And it only takes one Joe Manchin to derail the whole thing. And if there is for example, spending on climate change, that might actually impact the fossil fuel industry or any of the corporate donors in a negative way, well, there's a good chance that one of these so-called centrist Democrats is going to demand that that provision be taken out. Why would they do that? Of course, you know the answer already. Follow the money. The new Republic's Kate Aronoff actually recently revealed that centrist think tanks are raking in Exxon cash, citing a company report, while HuffPost Alexander Kaufman reviewed an analysis by the advocacy group Oil Change US of campaign contributions to 6 Democrats unearthed, who were named in an unearthed June expose. So Unearth is Greenpeace's UK investigative journalist arm. Now, you guys remember the video. That's Keith McCoy, Dan Easley, who thought that they were discussing the company's lobbying efforts with the recruitment consultant. They revealed, of course, that, well, they own a lot of the so-called moderates. In fact, the Oil Change US analysis focuses on campaign disclosures of 6 Democratic lawmakers. McCoy had mentioned Senators Chris Coons, Maggie Hassan, Mark Kelly, Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, and John Tester. Tester led the group in taking $99,783 in donations from the fossil fuel industry, followed by Sinema taking $70,800, Coons $68,650, Manchin $64,864, Hassan $26,699, and Mark Kelly taking a total of $1,500. So, all right, I've got some thoughts. A few, just a couple, For one, if it doesn't pass, that is, if Joe Manchin doesn't agree to the $3.5 trillion spending, well, then, of course, it's going to get negotiated down further. And it's already been watered down. Understand that this was supposed to be $6 trillion in new spending. It is now half of that, thanks to the moderates, and it probably will get reduced even further. And this does not involve Republicans. You can't sit there and blame Republicans for this. Oh, Republicans, well, of course they're going to filibuster it. Well, that's why they're doing budget reconciliation. Now, it's Democrats negotiating with the so-called centrist moderates, who are now apparently very, very concerned about inflation and, oh my God, we can't just keep spending money. Look at all this money that we're spending. And so I think this reconciliation bill will end up being negotiated down to the point of where it could be completely neutered at the end, and at least in regards to climate change, which is the biggest issue facing the world at this point. And again, a result of Joe Manchin, and more importantly, of course, Joe Manchin's puppet masters. And of course, everybody gets mad at Joe Manchin. And I understand why, right? But he's the public face. He's the whipping boy. What he's really doing is the bidding of the donor class, the people behind the curtain, the fossil fuel companies, the big corporations who don't care about the long-term health and viability of the planet, only short-term profits. That's all they care about. Understand, Manchin is the public face. He is the heel. He's the whipping boy, the bitch boy, who does their work for them in order to get a paycheck. And it's easy, and it's actually right to hate him. I do. But understand that, again, Joe Manchin doesn't do this out of principle. And I hate when the mainstream media says that he's doing that. No. The only principle that matters to Joe Manchin is what his donors tell him. And it's not just the fossil fuel companies either. You have health insurance companies who are pushing against, of course, the lowering the age of eligibility for Medicare. That's why it's likely that won't make it in this. And there are some people saying, well, it might. I mean, it includes enough money right now. They're already having, though, I think these companies are already having a hard enough time swallowing the idea that Medicare could be expanded to include dental, vision, and hearing care. And so understand they're already against this. The pharmaceutical company is already against this. And it's why, again, Biden, that's the reason we don't have a public option is because of these groups. And why, again, I'm very concerned that even these moderate, these modest expansions might not even make it into the final piece. I think a backtrack and a further pruning will be inevitable because right now you have Democrats that sound like Republicans when it comes to spending. As the New York Times reported late on Tuesday, quote, rising concerns among centrist lawmakers had forced Democrats to rethink the scope of the original package in recent days. Behind the scenes, centrists, including Warner, have privately warned Schumer in the White House that moderates are not likely to support a reconciliation measure as large as the $6 trillion package that Sanders had originally sought. It became clear on Tuesday evening that they were scaling the package back. And this will likely not be the first time that they scale this back. I'm sure they'll scale it back even further. And that, of course, is disastrous. That's what happens when you have a system that is fully captured by lobbyist money. And that's it. I mean, this further highlights, in my opinion, for one, the need to elect more progressives to office, obviously. I don't think we'd be having this much of a conversation if a lot of those centrist, so-called centrist Democrats had been replaced by progressives. Imagine Joe Manchin, for example, having been replaced by Paul Gene Swearengin. We wouldn't be having that issue with Manchin or, primary challengers, for example, John Tester and Mark Warner. Had they won those primary challenges and gotten elected into office, well, we'd be having a very different conversation. So we've got to not only elect more of those, more of good progressives that will actually want to do something, but also in the grand scheme of things, if you really want to fix a rot in a system, you get the money out of politics. Otherwise, we're never going to have, and as decent as the end bill might actually be, because I'm sure it will do some positive things, and I'm sure it will help some people, but it's never going to be enough of a scope to really face the challenges that this country is currently going through. And so we've got to get that money out of politics if we actually want to do real, gigantic, substantive change. Because right now, under Biden and the Democrats and our current system, nothing will fundamentally change. Okay. Moving on, let's go after some Republicans. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is getting, attacked by MAGA chuds, essentially for doing the one cardinal sin that you're not supposed to do in the current Republican Party. Admit the truth about the election, of course. In fact, he was recently on Fox News, and host Brett Baer had asked McCarthy to comment about Trump's claims that he actually won the 2020 election. So, look, we had CPAC, and during CPAC, Donald Trump was invited to speak, and he said a bunch of unhinged, incredibly false things. That's pretty much par for the course for not only Trump, but also for CPAC. That said, what McCarthy had responded saying, quote, Joe Biden is the president of the United States. He legitimately got elected. That was enough to trigger the MAGA mob. So Trump supporters who were watching Fox News, of course, raged. I want to read you some of the comments here. One person says, Biden was elected legitimately. Here we go, folks. Another damn rhino. Donald Trump Jr., please tell us you don't support this guy. Another person says, Kevin McCarthy, you're a fraud. I heard what you said about Biden being legitimately elected. You're a rhino. There is election fraud. What a liar you are. Oof. Here we go. Another person says, just heard McCarthy say Biden was legitimately elected. Then in the next sentence, he says, we know there was voter fraud in mail-in voting. That's actually not true. Why didn't you do something about that? Spineless coward. Need to dump this guy. Here we go. Somebody who ironically is named The Truth on Twitter says, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy just said Joe Biden is president. He was legitimately elected. Also won't answer a question if Trump should run again. Dodged it. McCarthy needs to go. Don't trust him. So good. Another person says, GOP leader just told Brett Baer that Joe Biden is a legitimate president and Biden was legitimately elected. He's wrong and will be proven wrong. I'm still waiting on that one. He must go. Hey, Kevin, we will vote for GOP like you. So I guess you're planning on losing in 2022 along with the rest of the establishment. One more. Another person says, Kevin McCarthy, I put you on my rhino list today. I bet a lot of other people did too. For you to say on public that Donald Trump legitimately lost the 2020 election and that Biden won makes me know you are not the leader I thought you were. I hope we vote you out in 22. Well, now wait a minute. If you're so convinced that there was massive voter fraud, then why would you even take part in the electoral system in the first place? Why would you even vote? I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying that if you were so convinced that there's always so much massive voter fraud, then why would you even go out to vote? In a way, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Okay, all right, weird, but overall, look, what I'm trying to say is that this is cultish behavior. Understand, like, here's the thing: they are in a cult. They want Donald Trump still, and they're not letting it go. And here's the thing. I know a lot of you are sick of it, right? And I see a lot of libs doing this too. Mainly they're ignoring Donald Trump, like he's going to go away. He's not. And that's the thing. Not only is he not going away, his fans aren't either. They're still here. They walk among us. At CPAC, recently there's a straw poll. 70% of respondents said they would vote for Donald Trump if he ran in 2024. He's talking about 2024. They don't care. They don't care. I know. I'd be like, well, Donald Trump's too old. He'd never run. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And so not only that, but okay. So you had Donald Trump in this straw poll getting 70% of the vote. And then you get the rest of the people. Ron DeSantis was on there. He got 26%. The rest, less than 1%. So nobody else got over 1%. That includes Tucker Carlson, which is interesting, that has had us even in the ring. But okay, look, Ron DeSantis, understand that Ron DeSantis is popular because he is a Trump clone, essentially, a younger Trump clone. And so, they are the party of Donald Trump. And I've said it before, okay? That's what they are. They're wholly committed to that one person. And look, I've said it before. Yes, I think that they are a fringe group. But the thing is, this fringe group actually does have a lot of power. And right now, there are adherents who use that power to do some pretty bad things. Look, voter ID laws, that's one example. Gerrymandering. Right now, they've got the Supreme Court who continues to strike down voting rights. You got people in Congress that continue to block anything in order to depress turnout. Among the other side, they might have the numbers, but they do have a plan to hold on to power, and that's what's concerning. And of course, that plan involves making sure that not enough Americans can get out to vote. That's how they win. That's the only reason that they win now. And so, remember, these people exist these people do vote, and that's the problem. And they will turn out for Donald Trump. Speaking of Ron DeSantis, go to him. I learned in grade school that appeasing the mad dictator didn't avert World War II. They tried to appease the mad president. How's that working out? True. Very, very true. Let's see. Because there was no election fraud, the whole election of 2020 would have been rigged. If Trump gets a do-over, they should all get a do-over. Let's see. Question, if what the Dems did to Bernie was unfair and dishonest, destroyed the spirit and function of elections, how's the general legitimate? Primaries are different than general elections, for one. And for two, there was no actual voter fraud against Bernie Sanders. What they had is that they did put their thumb on the scale, and I've said this before. What they did is, of course, the voting, okay, so the registrations in places like New York were incredibly messed up. So what you had is situations where people would have to sign up like a year in advance to vote in a primary. That's different from voting in a general election. I think it's a stupid system, the way we have primaries versus general elections. Because remember, primaries are essentially run by the parties. And so the parties get to run, or they get to control this thing. They get to control who runs on their ticket in a general election, which is not controlled by the state parties. So there's a big difference between the primaries versus the general elections. And so what you have, you can see Rod Bernie twice. What was he supposed to do? What was he supposed to do? And there's the other thing, right? What do you expect someone to do in that situation? Just because the law says it's cool doesn't mean it wasn't completely and utterly more. I agree with you. Like, yeah, of course it was. Of course it was crap. That's why you need to change the rules of the primaries. But in order to change the rules of the primaries, you actually have to get power in order to change those things. Will you fight and call out the corruption? We do. But if you're trying to, and I can understand like the reticence in going like nuclear, right? If you go nuclear, then you have no power and you're always on the outside. If you avoid going nuclear, and I understand that if you don't agree with that strategy, but this is the strategy that Bernie Sanders is doing right now. If you don't go nuclear and try to play the inside game, then you can get some gains, right? That's what he's doing right now. Some gains. If you went nuclear, you get no gains. So I understand like the situation, if you're stuck in a situation where you don't have any power, or you get a little bit of power, which is what this is, right? And your goal here is to push to get as much as you can, even if it's a little, then that's, then you're going to do that by doing the inside strategy. Okay. And so that's what you're doing. Who's gaming the people? Like, who's gaming the people? If you avoid going nuclear, they don't take you seriously and forever be playing along. But if you also go nuclear, then you're automatically cast out anyway. So it's a kind of a lose-lose situation. Do you understand how this is? Like, do you understand that until you have enough people in positions of power, we don't have... Okay, and we don't have time for incremental change. I agree with that. So how do you get more than incremental change? So that's the $1 million question here. How do you change that system? You can push from the outside and on the inside. You can do both. That's why, well, okay, Right now, a good example, and I agree that you should unite in this. I do agree that you should push from the outside. So what you can do is what we've seen already with the people refusing to go back to work. I like to see more of that. I like to see more of that because guess what? That's having an impact. You have people. So that's a push from the outside. Now, what you have to have was more people pushing from the inside in order to actually enact some policy changes. Nobody's expecting anybody to hand over any power. Like that's what I think you guys completely misunderstand what we're trying to say. Yeah, of course, we know that they're not going to hand anything over. You do, and here's the thing that we don't know, right? We don't know what's going on inside of these meetings, right? We don't know what's going on inside of closed doors. How exactly people are using leverage inside that we don't necessarily see. We can sit there and say, well, they're not doing anything. They're not even trying to do anything. You don't know that, like, inside of those meetings, you know, you have people very passionately making their case and maybe threatening to use leverage. We don't know what's going on in the inside. And so how are we to say from the outside looking in that they're not fighting hard enough? You see what I mean? Joe Biden could forgive almost all student debt tomorrow. Yes, he could, but he chooses not to. Because remember, Joe Biden said nothing will fundamentally change. I don't think you understand what the word gaslighting means. Anyway, I've got more to talk about. I'm not gonna let the whole stream get derailed from that. Yeah, it's true. We don't know if anybody's being threatened either. Yeah, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on, and that's of course why the outside pressure is also important. I'm not discounting outside pressure, but you are a lot of you are discounting inside pressure. All right, anyway. Let me get that ready. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is running for re-election, or will be running in re-election on Florida, but he's using a very curious platform, pro-coronavirus. Interesting. Now, this is happening as the state is hitting daily cases close to 4 times the national average. DeSantis is selling merchandise that is anti-mask and anti-Anthony Fauci for some reason. All right, so now I want to show you a couple of examples here of merch that he is selling. Let's bring that up on the screen here. Don't Fauci my Florida. I don't even know if that's supposed to be clever. What is that supposed to mean? I don't get it. I mean, what? There's more. Okay. So here's a koozie. How the hell am I going to be able to drink a beer with a mask on? You drink it at home? I don't. Okay. All right. So now, again, this is him rolling out this merch as his state is seeing some of the highest coronavirus hospitalizations, infections, and deaths per capita in the country. As the Washington Post notes, while the merchandise is focused on Florida before the 2022 gubernatorial race there, DeSantis is also seen as a key potential frontrunner for the GOP presidential nomination in 2024. In fact, CPAC recently had a straw poll of who they wanted to see. DeSantis got about 26%. So that's obviously higher than all the others, which polled at 1, except for Donald Trump, who polled at 70%. So not only that, but a part of his pitch is the fact that he had resisted public health experts' call for stricter measures against the spread of coronavirus, spurring criticism on the left, which he loves, and praise from the right for keeping the state's school and economy comparatively open. While discussing the Florida budget this summer, DeSantis said his state's rosy financial outlook would not have been possible if we had followed Fauci. Instead, he said, we followed freedom. Freedom. Well, there's a cost to that freedom. Florida's death rate is almost double the national figure. Yeah, but you go off, King, about freedom. More like freedom to die, sounds like. But his campaign team's Team DeSantis Twitter account had announced a new merchandise earlier this week. The Fauci items are listed alongside Keep Florida Free hats and the koozies. But here's the thing. Okay, hey, you want to drink your beer without wearing a mask? All right, well, here's what we got to do. And I know it's going to be really hard, okay? But first, you get vaccinated. You encourage everyone around you to get vaccinated. And then, of course, if you're going to go out, you're going to crowd, mask up. It's real simple. It's two things, very simple things to do. And that would allow the virus to eventually peter out. And, at worst, it becomes a recurring thing. You got to get a booster every once in a while, for coronavirus season, because we're basically at that point. Okay. But no, that's not going to happen, because first they refused to wear a mask and socially distance. They didn't do that. And now they refuse vaccines. Only 46% of Floridians are vaccinated. And now you've got new variants that are popping up that are even more infectious to the unvaxxed. Some of these variants even hit the vaccinated. I read a story earlier about somebody who was taking care of an unvaxxed person. She's vaccinated. She wore a mask. She was taking care of an unvaccinated person who she thought just had the flu. Turns out he had COVID, and then she got COVID, and there were some pretty serious symptoms. One of those breakthrough infections. And so understand, even though the COVID-19 vaccine is fairly effective, 88%, you can still get it, because the Delta variant is actually even more infectious, 50% more infectious than the previous 50% more infectious variant. And was even more infectious than the original strain. And all of these new variants keep popping up. Now, we got Delta, then we're going to have the Lambda. I'm worried that Lambda is not going to be the worst of it. I'm worried that there's going to be a new variant that pops up that lowers the effectiveness or even eliminates the effectiveness of the vaccines to a significant point. That's a problem. But that's not even the main issue here, right? So what this is, for this story, it's more like the celebration of ignorance that you have on the right, where basically it's like, yeah, I got more people killed with my crappy advice. Yeah, get freedom. Get freedom. Well, it's like they don't even care about people that are infected, that are dying. It's because they don't. And I've done a lot of stories, by the way, of people who were influenced by people like Trump, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tommy Lauren, Ron DeSantis, who, by the way, are all very likely, bet money that they've all gotten their vaccine already. We know, for example, everybody working at Fox News had to get vaccinated before they even got into the building. But these people are like, oh, well, yeah, I didn't know this was real. I mean, I didn't think it was this bad. I mean, I listened to Fox News, and, there were even people who were saying with their dying breath that, I thought this was a hoax. Weird. So what Ron DeSantis is doing is virtue signaling. And that's what it is. It all ends up being a virtue signal so we can sell more merch, make more money, to fund his campaign so he can win again and keep power. That's what it is. And what's funny is that he's also saying, without actually saying it, I know you're stupid, and I know you're going to believe whatever I tell you, so I'm just going to yell freedom. I'm going to ignore the actual experts, and I'm going to boast about it. And that's why, if you're not dead, you'll vote for me. At least until you end up on a ventilator, but hopefully you'll vote before you end up on that ventilator, so it still counts. There's one more disturbing component of this, by the way, that goes along with the virtue signal. And that's, of course, the focus on Dr. Fauci. Here's the thing. Dr. Anthony Fauci was not controversial for a very long time. He's served in the government over what? I don't know how many presidents. 7? But then, coronavirus, and he gets cast as a political figure. Now, I think at first, I'm not sure who did this first, with the right wing that was attacking him, or the left wing that suddenly, lifted him up as like a hero. Okay? Now, look, when libs do that, like what they did with Robert Mueller and then Fauci, drives me crazy. Drives me up the wall. Like, the guy's not a hero. He's just doing his job. Like, just let the guy do his job. And even Fauci's like, just let me do my job. This is weird. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, but like, if the libs elevate somebody, of course, the conservatives are going to hate him. Instantly. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter what he does. If libs like him, conservatives by nature have to be against it. And that's it. And so that's what's going on. And I don't care about Fauci as a person. Again, I don't think he's a hero. I think he's doing the job that he was supposed to do. Whatever. And his job, of course, is to follow the science and what we know about the virus. And here's the thing, right? And so a lot of people will point back, oh my God, he was talking about not wearing masks earlier. It's back when we didn't know masks were all that effective. Now we do. And it's called science. Science is a process. Fauci, in fact, says that he and other public officials had, originally, like I said, not called on people to wear masks. Now they flipped the position as they learned more about the effectiveness of masks after initially fearing that the public would run out in a panic like they did with toilet paper and take all the masks away from healthcare workers. And so there it is. And so, yes, that does make sense. Not to try to create a public panic. Again, we saw that with toilet paper. Imagine how much worse it would have been for healthcare, professionals who are already having to deal with death and not having PPE. I remember those, images of people wrapped in plastic trash bags because they didn't have enough PPE. Imagine if the public had gone and bought them all out that they did on toilet paper and hoarded it, essentially. I get it. And yes, it's true. He said at first that he didn't think that the masks were necessary. And then when he actually learned that they were necessary, okay, mask up. That's what you're supposed to do. So, again, it makes sense from a policy standpoint. Nonetheless, the focus on Fauci intensified after BuzzFeed and the Post obtained some of his early pandemic emails. The doctor was a target of criticism and derision. Also, at the CPAC, of course, where black and white video clips of Fauci talking drew loud boos from the crowd. Resistance to shut down masks and vaccine promotions came up often at CPAC, whereas Fauci had called criticisms from Republicans, quote, bizarre. I've become for some reason or another, a symbol of anything they don't like, related to anything contrary to them or outside of their own realm. Well, that's all it takes. Republicans understand that they need a boogeyman. Anyone will do. They just need to point at somebody to hate. That's what it is. Blood for the blood god. That's it. They need someone to say he's the problem. That's the problem. Because honestly, Republicans have no solutions. Their solution is throughout the whole thing, right? Open up the country. We don't care about coronavirus. I don't care how many people die. I don't care how many people get sick. I don't care how many different variants pop up. We don't care. Open up the country. They literally said, old people should sacrifice themselves for the good of the economy. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. They don't care about this. They don't care. Again, this is why people like DeSantis, who are owned by the donors, big corporations, who had to justify keeping businesses open during a pandemic that ended up killing over 600,000 Americans. A decent chunk of that ended up being in Florida, from Florida. It's a good job. By the way, again, Florida, 45% vaccination rate. I think I said 46 earlier. So a correction on that. And hospitals right now in Florida are being slammed by, guess what? Younger people. Younger people in their 20s and 30s that are getting either really, really sick from the Delta variant or even dying. So, yeah. And yet, while that's happening, this guy is hawking ridiculous merchandise, which makes light of the whole thing and encourages people to not be safe. That's what's going on here. Florida, as always, keeping it classy. All right, let's move on to Tucker Carlson. Fox host Tucker Carlson is getting called out by his first grade teacher. That was a fascinating story. So now, first, the Washington Post did a extensive profile of Tucker Carlson, and in it, they talked to 77-year-old Mariana Raymond. So now, the reason that they talked to Tucker Carlson's first grade teacher, which you think, okay, this is weird, why would they talk to her? Oh, it turns out in Tucker Carlson's book, or I should say memoir, that was analyzed by the Post for the piece, well, Tucker Carlson had talked about her. In fact, he had a fanciful recollection of his time in her class and embellished in a few key ways to make her look bad. In fact, Carlson described Ms. Raymond as a, quote, parody of Earth Mother liberalism with little interest in conventional schooling topics such as reading and writing. At one point, he claimed during his time in her class, she broke down sobbing at her desk, exclaiming, "The world is so unfair. You don't know that yet, but you'll find out." And as a result of her supposed unwillingness to teach him, Mr. Carlson added, his father had hired a tutor to help him at home with academics. Now look, I'm sure some of you might have had a bad teacher, once in a while. Hey, I've had a bad teacher. And once in a while, these people tend to break down. Now, to be fair, as I've gotten older and learned more about things, I understand that, yes, some people do break down and get mad or whatever. They're dealing with unruly students. They're dealing with terrible pay. They're dealing with having to spend their own money to actually buy supplies for class, things like that. Or, yeah, again, just dealing with, like, dickheads like myself when I was younger. Okay? And so I get it. Now, but it turns out in this story, again, this is first grade. It's not like she was teaching a high school class with Tucker Carlson in it. No, it actually turns out that Tucker Carlson made things up. Of course. Ms. Raymond told the Post that she remembers the situation differently. She never sobbed at her desk, she told the Post in an interview, and had no trouble teaching academic subjects in class. So now, okay, so that's a debunk of the lies. But the best part about this is actually what was true. What was true about this? Well, Tucker Carlson claimed that, oh, she was so bad at class, I had to get a tutor. Well, who'd his dad hire for the tutor? Miss Raymond. She was the tutor. So wait, if she was so bad, then why did Tucker's dad hire her to tutor him after hours? Was Tucker's dad a secret lib? What? Of course. The story is ridiculous. In fact, when asked about this, Ms. Raymond said, quote, "That is the most embellished, crazy thing I have ever heard." Now, look, I know a lot of you might be thinking this is a nonsense story, and it kind of is, but it really does tell you who Tucker Carlson is. If you didn't already know, the guy lies and embellishes all the time, but he does so not just because. So there. Okay, for example, you look at somebody like Donald Trump. The guy just lies for no reason. He lies about the stupidest thing. Oh, the crowd size, the biggest crowd I've ever seen, the most moist chocolate cake ever, voter fraud. All right, look, sure, I get it. You're lying because you can't help yourself. But here's the thing. Tucker Carlson lies for reasons. And he lies to make political points. And that's what this is about. In this case, remember, it wasn't but a few days ago, maybe a week, that he called for literal cameras to be put in classrooms to prevent teachers from teaching so-called critical race theory. Okay? Now, critical race theory, the whole discussion, the whole discourse around that is ridiculous. For one, critical race theory is not being taught in, like, K through 12 education. Nobody was even talking about teaching it in K through 12. It's a college level course. And so that's one thing that, again, they lie about. So, oh, we need to put teachers in the cameras in the classroom. Also, we need to attack teachers' unions. And so that's the other reason, of course. They hate teachers' unions. And so they wanted to fund them. They wanted to dissolve them. Now, when it comes to police unions, they absolutely love those unions. But as teachers, teaching kids, I'm not interested. All right, so that's ridiculous. Now, and the other fun thing about this, though, Ms. Raymond was shocked about this because she remembered Tucker Carlson as being a, quote, very precious, and very, very polite, and very sweet. Interesting. I think this really does show you that, no, he's not. This is an act. And understand that everything about Tucker Carlson in his public appearances is an act, except, I would say, except for the racism. Okay? He doesn't believe in most of the things he talks about. What he's doing is pandering to a white nationalist audience for ratings. And of course, it works. It's incredible. He has the #1 show on cable television. So he's doing something right. The man is an expert hustler. Doesn't believe a damn word he says, but he is just racist. And you got to kind of respect that he's good at what he does, even when what he does is endanger the country. And so, overall, he's a lying piece of crap that's going to sell out anybody, even his first grade teacher, in order to help his career. So whatever you do, don't believe that guy. Yeah. Now we know she's lying because she said Tucker Carlson was sweet. Fair enough. All right, let's get to the last story. Don't forget, sexist. He covers his bases. It's true. It's true. Good point. A Capitol insurrectionist will be released to home detention on the account of him being too stupid to know where he was. I'm serious. This actually happened. Doug Jensen, a QAnon supporter, already hilarious, who stormed the Capitol, believed that instead of being at the Capitol building, that he was at the White House during the insurrection. Now, he was ordered released on home incarceration by a federal judge on Tuesday. Jensen, who was among the first rioters to enter the seat of the legislative branch in the federal government and chased U.S. Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman up the stairs leading to the Senate, believed that he was at the White House, which is at the center of the executive branch of the government. U.S. District Judge Timothy J. Kelly said that Jensen's conduct was serious, but that the threat Jensen posed to the community could be mitigated through strict conditions of release. Under federal law, pretrial detention is actually supposed to be a last resort and implemented only when there are no other conditions that would ensure public safety. Judge Kelly cited Jensen's lack of a grade school level understanding of the U.S. government in his decision to release Jensen. Jensen, in January 6 videos that were released to the media on Monday night, repeatedly stated that he believed he was at the White House. He said, quote, "This is me touching the effing White House," with his hand on the exterior wall of the U.S. Capitol. "Storm the White House!" Jensen screamed in another video as he panned up to the Capitol dome. "That's what we do." No, apparently that's not what we do. At least in his case, apparently he has no idea what he's doing. Look, Jensen, by the way, Judge Kelly said that Jensen, as a result of this evidence that's presented, could not have pre-planned or coordinated his actions because Jensen had no basic understanding of where he even was. There's a lot to say, but for one, I'm just going to start out by saying this is why Trump loves the poorly educated. You could also say he wasn't setting his best. Now, Judge Kelly, so understand, a lot of you are saying, well, oh, come on, it's just an act to get a reduced sentence and all that stuff. Okay, well, understand that Judge Kelly, in his decision, reiterated that releasing Jensen under strict conditions should not be read as an indication that the judge believes Jensen's conduct wasn't serious. He says, no. What Jensen did was absolutely serious. And me letting him go to basically what is a house arrest is not a reflection of, the seriousness of what he did, nor is it an indication of how Jensen will be sentenced. So basically, he's just saying the guy's too dumb. I don't need to hold him in prison because he's dumb. And there's no way he could have actually planned this. This was a spontaneous, ridiculous thing that he did. Now, I agree with the judge in the fact that this was in no way means he wasn't dangerous. Of course he was dangerous. He literally stormed the Capitol. Yes. And look, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. It's literally what happened on January 6th. It was stupid people in a very large group. Weaponized ignorance. They literally believed, thanks to conservative propaganda and not knowing better, that Mike Pence could change the result of the election by not certifying it. It is weaponized ignorance. It's complete and utter. It's stupid. It's just dumb. And so that's what's going on. Okay. Nobody look. There's a lot of ignorance going around especially in the Republican Party. Okay. Nobody knows how this works anymore. There's no civics classes. What's going on? We don't need that. You bunch of commies telling us how government actually works so we can actually do something. No way. No. No, understand that this kind of ignorance is what we're dealing with. It doesn't take a genius to figure these things out, to figure out how certification actually works, and how Mike Pence literally had no power to do it. But there are people, and this is what's the important thing, right? There are people whose livelihoods and power depend on you not knowing facts, or believing an objective reality. That's what we have to face, and that's what's going on. All right. Anyway, I'm past time. I gotta go. Oh, look, we just got a raid too. Surfer Girl, Gritty, thank you so much for the raid. I do appreciate that. We're about to be heading out, and so I'm gonna do a raid of your raid. But before I do that, Granny Dragon, thank you for cheering 100 bits. Really appreciate that. Let's go to Super Chat here. I gotta open up a bunch of windows to get to it. They really should make that easier to get to. You know what I'm saying? Okay, and Super Chats. LL says, I'm just shocked to learn that Tucker Carlson was educated by humans. That's a good one. It's a good one. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Super Chat. All right. Anyway. Hold on here. Damn windmills. Let's see. It's a crazy decision on the judge, but I hope he deals out sentencing like that equally. Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good point. Remember, I talked about the one guy, the one black guy during that entire situation that ended up getting, put in jail versus the people who were more dangerous. Again, it's one of those things where he does make a good point about not knowing, like the guy didn't know where he was or what he was doing, and so he couldn't have planned it. Okay, I get that, right? So he wasn't, but a lot of these idiots didn't plan it either. And so, I mean, that doesn't mean that what they did wasn't horrible or that they shouldn't actually, and again, we're talking about pretrial detention here, right? And it doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. Again, I've talked a million stories about how some of these people who were released started stockpiling weapons. I just don't know if this guy is one of those people. I do really think that he's just an idiot. Oh yeah, no, definitely guilty. All right, anyway. That's all I got. I'm going to hand it off here to, let's see, do a raid here on, let's do left link bets. And I really do have to expand my my Twitch follows. Start raiding other people. All right, so we'll do that. Thank you. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you tomorrow.
Amazing.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Mike Pounds.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.